introduction. All right, let's see. All right, everyone. It looks like we got cut off again, but we are back. Someone write in the comments, and I know what he's watching. So, yep, okay. Joe says yay. All right, so where we were last time was we were just about, and this wasn't intentional to create any type of hype. We were trying to get an introduction into the top 10 selling bullion products at SD Bullion. And I think we're going to start right away now with number 10. James, can you let us know what the 10th best selling bullion product is at SD Bullion?
Sure. This always surprises me, and this has been the same throughout the time I've been in this industry. It's 1 ounce silver bars, and that is any type of 1 ounce silver bar, from your Sunshine Mint silver bars to your Silver Towns to any of the products that we sell in the 1 ounce silver bar category. The 10th most sold product is the 1 ounce silver bar. And, you know, we had done that preface before earlier about, you know, whether or not it's private, et cetera. This one, if you sold 1,000 ounces or more to a bullion dealer, they're going to ask you for your IRS Social Security number. So it's private if you sell in small lots, but if you sell in large lots, it's not. I guess the biggest reason that people buy these is it's similar to, you know, 1 ounce rounds or anything like that. The price point is going to be exorbitantly lower than, you know, say Silver Eagles or any other manufactured silver sovereign coins. They typically have premiums that are, you know, a lot lower. I would say right now in the industry, you're probably looking around 99 cents an ounce over spot for 1 ounce silver rounds or silver bars.
Yeah, that's a nice price. And also, if you're interested in stacking, they're in good shape. Looks like you can make a nice stack of those guys there. So number 10 are the 1 ounce silver bars sold at SD Bullion. Now, number 9.
Oh, and one other point about the 1 ounce silver bars, just real quick, Lewis. You know, just in my own personal opinion, the Sunshine Mint bars, those, you can see that little sheet on that slide.
Yes.
They come in these sheets, and those things with their mint mark SIs, you know, the fact that they have the anti-counterfeit technology on them, you know, that's a tough one to beat. I think that's probably the best one if you're talking about the best choice among the whole lot. I mean, there's a whole bunch that are pretty. You know, they may be a better design, et cetera, but the Sunshine Mint bar is, in my opinion, it's pretty great.
And Joe is making a point, saying he used to read a lot about fake silver. He seemed to recall a lot of the stories being about that 1 ounce size. So that is a highly counterfeited type of bar, is it?
That's correct. Thank you, Alibaba.
All right. Now, let's go over to number 9.
Number 9 is the 100 ounce silver bar. Now, this is a 100 ounce silver bar is usually not something that the small guys like to buy because, you know, maybe that's the size of their entire stack. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have it in just one bar. The 100 ounce bar is typically what I see in this industry is someone who's coming to buy, you know, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 or more dollars worth of silver. And they are someone who has the intention to inevitably keep buying. They're going to dollar cost average. And so, you know, maybe in the long term, they're going to end up putting 6 figures of dollars into silver. And their intention is to get it as close to spot as possible. And so that's typically what you see with the 100 ounce silver bar buyer is someone who is, you know, very, you know, I would have to say they're probably premium averse. They're probably someone who doesn't want to pay a lot per ounce. And they like the idea of just getting it in large lots and getting it in bulk. And so 100 ounce bar is typically what that type of personality tends to enjoy. The picture you see on the slide, I think, is the Royal Canadian Mint 100 ounce silver bar. They got into the game of the 100 ounce silver bars. I would say it's around 2013 or 2012 when they first started doing them. There may be some older versions back from the 80s or what have you, but they really didn't get into this bull market, this 21st century version, until 2013 or so. They are, I believe, they're trying to rack my brain, but I'm pretty confident they're the only government-issued 100 ounce silver bar out there. So if you're talking about the various 100 ounce silver bar hallmarks, the Royal Canadian Mint bar is going to be a little bit more expensive than, say, a 100 ounce Sunshine Mint bar or a 100 ounce I'm trying to think like what's a cheap 100-ounce silver bar? I'm totally forgetting. Let me see. Let me go through the list of some of the cheapest ones here real fast so people can kind of understand the various types. Probably some of the lowest priced ones are typically like Republic Metals when they were making them. Sunshine Mint, as I had mentioned. Johnson Matthey sometimes is pretty low. Even Engelhart sometimes, but those are usually secondary because it's very. I don't even think Englehart's making them any longer. I think they're just secondary products. So it runs the gamut of the types. In my opinion, the Royal Canadian Mint Bar, if you're going to go 100-ounce bars, that's probably the smartest one, just because it's got the Royal Canadian Mint guarantee and all that. So if you're selling them to a secondary buyer, there's just that much more confidence because you got to figure the general public will respect that more than, say, a Johnson Matthey. They don't know what the hell Johnson Matthey is. So that's why I would suggest if you were going that route, Royal Canadian Mint 100-ounce bars are probably your best place, and maybe pay an extra dime or so per ounce to do it, but I think it's worth it.
So let's talk then liquidity, premiums, and collectability. Is there any collectability on these types of bars?
There can be, depending. Like sometimes you see a lot of people buying old Engelhart bars at a high premium.
Yes.
And it's kind of a subjective thing. I think sometimes some of these bars, they do look pretty sweet, depending on how they've patinaed and the stamping. Sometimes they are very rare. And there are people who respect that and will pay up a premium to get it. But you're talking about a very small lot of folk, right? So it's a question of, okay, well, if that's your intention, then think about it in terms of your exit plan. If you're going to sell them to those people, are they going to be around in 5 or 10 years, and how easy will it be to sell to them? Because if you turn around and try and talk that talk to a bullion dealer, they're probably going to scoff at you and tell you, I can't. No, I'm just going to give you spot minus X. That's typically what happens when you go to sell a 100-ounce bar to a dealer. Very rare will you yield even spot. You usually yield something just below spot.
Okay, so in that case, if you're looking to collect collectible silver bars, you're going to have to find someone other than a bullion dealer to take them off your hands, perhaps on eBay.
Yeah.
And that leads people to think that these bars aren't liquid. I guess they're not liquid at a collectible price, but would you say you have a problem taking a 100-ounce bar from a...
No.
Okay.
Yeah, not at all. As far as a high volume bullion dealer, 100-ounce bars are certainly liquid. They will be bought back. You may have an issue, say, if you went to your local coin shop and you were trying to sell 10 of these. I mean, the guy is going to look at you and be like, I got to go sell that to another dealer. Like they don't look, they don't see what a local dealer is going to want are products that are going to move on his shelf. He wants velocity. He wants things to turn over. And to be quite frank, so do bullion dealers, They don't want to buy things that are just going to sit there and collect dust. That costs them money, right? So they want products that are coming in through the door and that are going to go out through the door quick, right? And so that's, I think, the one issue that people have is they don't think there'll be liquidity. And that's true in the sense that people can use that argument as leverage to underbid you and give you a bad price. And that's why you don't take the first price that anyone offers you. When you go to sell your products, you should ask many people to buy your products and get many prices, and then sell to the one that you trust at the best price that you can get.
Well, the fact that it's number 9 on your list means they must be relatively liquid because you're selling.
They are, yeah, for sure. They are liquid. I mean, there's been times where we bought back, $1 million or more of 100-ounce bars. And so the question then becomes, all right, well, are you going to let those sit in your inventory, or how are you going to liquidate and turn that back to fiat if you need the fiat? Or are you okay with just having those ounces sit there for a while, because it takes a while to move $1 million of 100-ounce bars unless you have some blowout sale?
Yeah, I think you said something else that people might have missed and they might have just glossed over it. I think a lot of people don't understand that when you buy these generic bars or the larger bars, when you go to sell, you generally do not get the price as silver. Can you explain that?
Right. It depends certainly on what product you're selling to a dealer. But if you're going to go to sell a 100-ounce bar to a dealer in the United States, at this moment in time, I would say it's rare that you'll find someone bidding you spot. They'll typically bid you below spot, meaning, something like, for instance, spot right now is around $15.25. So if you go to your local coin dealer, he'll probably tell you 14.50 an ounce, right? Because he's got a brick and mortar store, he's got bills to pay, he's got to make a spread on that thing, right? So imagine he buys it from you at 14.50, and then some other guy comes to the door and he sells it to that guy at 15.50, right? So he made $100 on the trade. Okay. How long did that take? Hopefully it happened quick, because I mean, like I said, anytime you have inventory, it's a question of how quick you can turn it over to make a buck off it.
Right. All right. Well, that's the number 9 bar. Now, a silver product. Let's see what is number 8.
Number 8. Number 8 is interesting in the sense that everybody can recognize these if they're from the United States. This is the pre-1964 90% U.S. silver coins. Typically, they're sold in in bags, typically 1,000-ounce face bags or smaller. A lot of dealers will sell them like ourselves in even tinier bags. Usually, we sell them based on face coin value. So these are the old coins that in the United States were legal tender. They circulated all the way up until 1964, and people still buy these. And probably the most interesting thing in the last year or two that we found out about these is just the amount that are being melted at these, not this year, but the year prior when bullion sales were a lot lower than they are currently. We found out that, a lot of the refiners were ending up getting these, and they were being melted down into 3/9 fine silver form for industry use. The reason for that was simply the turn, like, I talked about velocity of turning over product, et cetera. Well, when you have 64 coins just sitting on shelves and they're not being sold because investors aren't buying them, you have to figure out a way to make money off them. And the way that they were making money off them was just flat out melting them and sending them back into industrial supply. So, the one sell point on this is the fact that so many people in the United States trust them, they know them, they recognize them, et cetera. And they're also very tiny. You're talking about a quarter, a dime. Those are small allotments of silver, and there's a certain segment of the bullion buying public that thinks, if the worst came to happen, or if we had some weird event where the financial system wasn't working at all, these wouldn't be that bad to have for barter and trade. And I certainly agree. I think they wouldn't. A little bit of a weird thing in how much silver is in each. So hopefully the internet's still working, because a lot of people don't know the math. So you need a calculator to kind of work it out.
That's true. They're not 1/10 of an ounce in the dime, and it's not 1/4 of an ounce in the quarter, and so on. But the good thing is, when you buy smaller sized silver rounds, you pay a higher premium. But yet, when you buy junk silver, the dime costs you the same as the quarter or the $half. So you really are getting a barter piece at a decent price over spot. And also,
that's true.
The fact that they've been melting these things down, not that they have any numismatic value now, but I would imagine at some point there is a limit. They haven't made them in now over 50 years, that they may start to develop some type of collectible, because no one really knows exactly how many were melted. And we do know in 1980, when the price went to $50, in 2011, when it did the same, many of these coins were just thrown into the hopper and melted down. And you mentioned even recently they're still being melted down. So they're actually a favorite of mine. I think that they're also a bit of history. You can poke through them. You can collect dates. I think they're a fine product, and I'm surprised to see them this low down on the list. But we do know another interesting fact is that even though the last date is 1964 on these coins, they were made well into 1965, because Johnson wanted to make sure that when they introduced the new clad coin, the non-silver coin, the one made of copper and nickel, that people wouldn't hoard these coins. So they wanted to make a significant amount in their last year of mintage, and they used 550 million ounces worth of silver, making all these dimes, quarters, and $half, 1964. That's why the 1964 dated coin is going to be the most common one you will see when you purchase these bags or rolls from SD Bullion. All right.
One other point on that, on this product, there's a website out there, and just give a quick plug to them because they do a pretty fantastic job of explaining each different coin and what's in them. The website's called coinflation.com.
Yes.
That's an excellent website. If people have a lot of interest in junk silver, that's a great website for people.
Yeah, and they tell you how much the silver is worth because, as you mentioned, I think the dime is 0.0767, the quarter is 0.16. I used to have all the numbers memorized, but they're not round numbers, and it's a little confusing as to how much. And it's also because they're 90% silver, they're not 100% silver, so you have to know precisely how much pure silver is in each of the coins. And that's why you sell them at face value rather than by the amount of silver. All right, number 7. Let's move on. What do you got for number 7?
The seventh most purchased product at SD Bullion are 10-ounce silver bars. 10-ounce silver bars are, basically, for those out there, I'm sure there's a lot that own 10-ounce silver bars, but they're basically like hand-sized silver bars. I mean, like a small iPhone, essentially. That's the size these things are, right? 10-ounce silver bars are just like the other 1-ounce or the 100-ounce silver bars. If you went to sell back 1,000 ounces or more of these to any dealer, they're going to ask you for your IRS social security number, et cetera. So it's not extremely private if you're selling them in bulk. But the reason why people like to buy them is similar to 1-ounce silver bars in the sense that you can get them at a price per ounce very close to spot. I would say right now, typically 99 cents over spot or even lower sometimes, depending on the type that you're getting. There's various brands or hallmarks, they call them in the industry, for 10-ounce silver bars. I'll probably list off a couple names you guys recognize. Silvertown makes them. Obviously, Sunshine Mint makes them with their counterfeit technology. Republic Metals made a whole bunch. Geiger makes them. Engelhart makes a few. And probably the one I like the most, again, is just the Royal Canadian Mint. They make a 10-ounce silver bar. They haven't been making it for very long. It's something new. But it's, in my opinion, my favorite one. And that between that and the Sunshine Mint bar for the counterfeit technology. But the Royal Canadian Mint one's kind of sweet because it gives you, it also has, what's it called? It has a... Geez, I'm totally blanking on the name of it, but it has like a unique serial number on it. And so, if I was someone who is stacking bars, silver bars, for instance, and I had unique serial numbers on my bars, I would document those serial numbers, and keep that document elsewhere in case the worst came to pass. Say someone busted in your home and stole your silver, you'd have those unique ID numbers, and if whoever this person would probably go and try and flip them at a local coin shop, maybe in your city or in a state elsewhere. With those identifying numbers, dealers, there's a network of dealers, and I'm on these various email chains. When things get stolen in the United States, there's emails that happen behind the scenes about identifying these products that have been stolen. And a lot of times these thieves get caught because of the communication that's happening behind the scenes within the dealer networks. And so it's just an added layer of security, if it has a unique if it has a unique serial number. That's what the Royal Canadian Mint 10-ounce bar has. So that's probably why it's my favorite.
I have a quick question then. On the 10-ounce, I'm surprised to see that the 10-ounce bar is more popular than the 1-ounce bar, just given people maybe would like to sell in smaller increments. Can you discuss briefly the difference in the premium between a 1-ounce bar, silver bar, and a 10-ounce bar? Is there that significant of a savings to buy a 10-ounce?
There really isn't. It really isn't much, Lewis. And as far as the sales volume, they're neck and neck. There's only $1 million or $2 million per year, missing between the two in total overall sales. So it's really, I think, end users, maybe they prefer the 10-ounce just because it's kind of cooler, it's bigger, maybe that's why. Why it inches out over the 1-ounce silver bars. Plus the 1-ounce silver bars, they're a lot more work to make, I bet. You're just pumping out 1 ounce versus 10. It's just for the various mints that are making them. My hunch is that they make a little bit more off the 10 ounce than they do the 1 ounce, just given the cost.
Sure, there's less of a premium fabrication charge there. All right, now I have to prepare our listeners for a bit of a shock here. Now I do try to keep Saturday night Silver with Smaulgld on topic and about silver, but even though SD Bullion stands for what, James?
Silver Doctors Bullion.
Okay, you do indeed sell gold, do you not?
Oh yeah, we sell gold, that's for
All
sure.
right, so we're gonna have to break a little tradition here, and we might have to discuss gold as we go through because in sixth place, James is at SD Bullion. The sixth
It
bestseller
is a 1 ounce gold bar, just any old any type, any mint, 1 ounce gold bar. As a category is in sixth place at SD
blasphemy,
Bullion.
blasphemy, blasphemy. Got gold up there on the screen. All right, so 1 ounce
Yeah,
gold bar. Now, why are they popular?
1 ounce gold bars are popular. It's kind of similar to the 100 ounce, the 10 ounce, and the 1 ounce silver bars. It's really the end users that are buying 1 ounce gold bars are probably people who, they want to get into gold, but they also want to get into gold close to spot as possible. That's like one of their highest, most important demands when they get into the industry. They basically come in thinking, I got to get as close to spot as possible, and that'll give me the best price. And so the 1 ounce bars are the ones, typically that do it for them. Obviously there's kilo gold bars, but not many people can afford kilo gold bars. So they usually come in, and the 1 ounce bar is the best option for people who are very, very price sensitive. And, the 1 ounce silver bars, there's tons of hallmarks out there. We can list through a few that we offer. We offer one from Scottsdale Mint, one from, we just brought on the Istanbul Gold Refinery. There's the Pamp Suisse version of the 1 ounce gold bar. Royal Canadian Mint makes one. I mean, there's a lot of different government mints making them. You got the British Gold Britannia, Perth Mint makes them. Sunshine Mint makes them. Valcambi, the biggest gold refiner in the world, makes them. Republic Metals used to make them, et cetera, et cetera. And usually they come not naked, not just sitting there alone, 1 ounce gold bar. They usually come with some type of card, some type of packaging. Usually it's pitched as anti-counterfeit packaging, and whatever. I don't really buy that because China can make that any day. But the packaging tends to have some type of difficult things that you can't counterfeit as easily, like holograms, and there's usually some type of assayer signature that goes along with it, and it basically it gives confidence to the end user, so long as the serial numbers on the card match maybe the serial numbers that are on the bar if they have them. It also sometimes will spell out additional details that the bar won't. And so that basically is some of the different sales points for the 1 ounce gold bars. Depending, tamper resistance, it will really depend on the different types. If you're looking at them all, some of them, if you were, say, someone in China that was really good at counterfeiting, you might be able to pull off, whereas some would be very, very hard to do. Probably one of the ones that I've seen, the highest end ones that are counterfeit. I've seen a couple of even Royal Canadian Mint fakes, and the problem with it is if it's a fake gold bar in one of those really nice fake protective things, how are you going to tell? Well, this is yeah, exactly. So you kind of have to learn about. Here's one thing that's strange. If you're just coming into this industry, you might not know how small and how dense gold really is. A 1 ounce gold bar looks big on the pictures on the internet, but when you actually see it in your hand in those cards, it's tiny. And I've seen the fakes, fake 1 ounce gold versions. They're much larger. I mean, it looks ridiculous when you see them side by side. So anyone who's been in this industry long enough and sees one of these fakes in their little fake, their fake cards that they put them in, I mean, it's a dead giveaway. It's an obvious plating. It's an obvious overweight copper piece or something like that. So anytime we were buying back from our end users, like the customers say, if we're buying it back from the public and it's been outside of the chain of custody, I mean, the chain of custody just means from dealer to dealer buying, et cetera, or from mint to dealer buying. So, we buy from mints, we buy from dealers, depending on what quantities and which products. But in the end, if you're buying it from a customer, we have to do our due diligence every time. So a parcel will come in, we'll open it up under camera, and we'll go through some, I'm not going to go through all the details of how we go into assuring that it's real. But we're not in the habit of just taking our own eye in our own hand, and then we use various methodologies to make sure what we're buying is indeed real, and then pay out accordingly. So, yeah, as far as fakes in the industry, really the biggest threat to fakes, it typically is if you're someone buying on a website, for instance, that there's really no middleman like an SD Bullion there to make sure that the products are legit. If you're buying it directly from just some average Joe elsewhere, that's a little bit risky, especially in the sense that you don't know what you're getting. And then when you get it, if they have the money and you can't retrieve the money, if it's a fake, that becomes a real problem. And there's been a lot of people in this industry who've been taken. Usually, when you go down the rabbit hole of who gets taken in these types of situations, it's usually some fool on Craigslist who thinks they're gonna go buy gold below spot, or some ridiculous notion that they're gonna somehow get a good deal. And usually that is just simply a greedy person getting taken advantage of by their own greed, and someone who's willing to take advantage of it. Correct. Yeah, that is correct. Especially if you're trying to do anything with a sovereign mint counterfeit, that calls in the Secret Service. If you're talking about the U.S. mints, if you start doing stuff like that, it's as serious a crime as counterfeiting Federal Reserve notes. I mean, you will go to federal prison very fast. Okay. So in fifth place out there, Lewis just informed me that he's having a couple issues with his audio, so I'm going to take over from right now until he comes back. But we're going on to fifth place in the top 10 bullion products that we sell at SD Bullion. Fifth place is the silver maple leaf coin. A lot of you guys out there are probably know these products. They're almost as popular as say the Silver Eagles, for instance. Silver maple leaf coins are produced by the Royal Canadian Mint. They've been produced by the Royal Canadian Mint since I believe the late 1980s. I didn't pull the data, but I'm pretty sure that there's been hundreds of millions of these that have been sold since the late 80s. So they're rather ubiquitous. And one of the things in my experience, I've done business in the bullion industry, not simply in the United States, but also in Asia. I went over in Asia in 2011, 2012. I was surprised by the market penetration that the silver maple leaf coin had over there. It's much more popular than even, say, the Silver Eagle. They've done a really good job of getting these sold, not simply in North America, but also in Asia. The one good thing about the silver maple leaf coin is the premium is definitely lower than, say, the Silver Eagle. As well, these products there's a few things that are interesting about them. They are IRS 1099B exempt. And again, that simply means you could sell me back, at SC Bullion, you could sell me back 1 million of these. I don't have to ask you for your social security number. It's extremely private transaction. So that is one really nice thing about them. They're extremely private. You can sell them back without any of that involvement with the IRS, giving up that kind of sensitive information to someone you don't feel like giving it to, et cetera. One other cool thing about these products is that the Canadian Mint has done a really good job in a few regards. They've been very, very adaptable in the last decade at the threat of counterfeits coming out of China. There were some counterfeits of their old versions, and they saw it and they adapted quickly. They made a whole bunch of things, unique changes to their coins. They added these things called radial lines, which is essentially hard to mimic using scanners and computers. Basically, they knew that if they put these radial lines in their coins, that the chop shops over in China weren't going to be able to pull that off because they're not as highly skilled as, say, the Royal Canadian Mint strikers of coins are. They also added a few other things, like a small micro initia, I think. So you can see like the maple leaf, the large one on the coin, but underneath there's a tiny maple leaf, and inside that tiny maple leaf, the last 2 years, of the year it was stamped. So, for instance, with this year, it would have a tiny number 19 in it, and that signifies that it was stamped in 2019. A couple other things, it's got legal tender face value. So in Canada, it's got 5 Canadian dollars legal tender face value. So that's, sometimes that's interesting in the sense that I'm sure in Canada, if you wanted to use them direct purchases of used goods, et cetera, you could maybe use them in a private contract of sale. And if the person that was supposed to sell you the product didn't do it, you could probably take them to court. And as long as you explicitly cited these as being the method of payment, it would probably be court enforceable. So it makes it a little bit different. I don't think you can use a contract to use 1 ounce rounds to buy something. I don't think that's going to be court enforceable. So it's a little bit of legalese in that sense. Obviously, they put a low face value on it because they don't want it to compete with their fiat Canadian dollars. So that's why they have only a $5 Canadian face value. What else? Another interesting thing about the mint box itself, if you look at that image that we have, the yellow mint box it's a lot more tidy, a lot more, I would say, space efficient than, say, the U.S. Mint green monster boxes. They stack on top of one another very well, too, because they have little inlays for each box. So when you put them on top of one another in a say if I put 20 of those on top of one another versus 20 of the U.S. Mint green monster boxes, the 20 yellow boxes from the Canadian Mint are just going to be that much more sturdy. Just the way that they stand on one another and the way that they pop into each other, which is it's just a small little thing, but it's kind of interesting. They take up a hell of a lot less space than the green monster boxes do. Louis, we back? All right. Number 4. We're going to move on to number 4. Fourth place, we got the gold maple leaf coins. Gold maple leaf coins, similar to the Royal Canadian Mint silver maple leaf coin, but one of the big differences is that the Canadian Mint has been making the gold maple leaf coin since 1980. So they've been around for a good bit. They're very similar in all these various anti-counterfeit designs that they have. They have, again, the radial lines. They also have that small little maple leaf with the last 2 years stamped on them. So as far as threat of any counterfeits of these, currently it's very, very little. I haven't seen any come along yet from China that can even look similar. So they're very, very safe. These coins, though, they are not IRS 1089-B exempt, in the sense if you're selling me, I believe it's 25 or more, I would have to ask you for your social security number. Okay. So they're not private in large lots when you're selling the dealers, but if you're selling small onesies, twosies, tensies, et cetera, that's not a problem. We don't have to ask you for your information. Let's see here. What else? They come in, tubes, very similar. The mint boxes are very similar to the yellow silver maple leaf mint boxes. Again, they're very, very tidy. They stack on top of one another very, very nicely. They're very, very soft. I think they're 4.9 fine gold as well. I forgot to mention the silver maple leafs are 4.9 fine silver. Just one thing to note about the 4.9s versus 3.9s. Really, that's just a kind of a marketing gimmick, really. I mean, because if you break out a calculator and you do the math on what a 4th 9 is as far as additional value, it's like pennies in silver, and in gold, it's maybe $1 here or there. So it's really, I think they did it because it gives people who are new in the industry this feeling like added value. Oh, look, it's even purer than the 3.9s, but it really doesn't mean a whole lot in the end. I guess the point in the fact that there's 4.9s in this makes it extremely soft. So, if you buy a tube, I had a tube of these at one time, and I remember I used to break them out occasionally and touch them and fondle them, and they're so soft that if you drop it, you'll dent them. So you have to be very, very careful, because if you ding them up and then you go to sell them to a dealer, they're going to use that as leverage to underbid you more, right? So just all I'm saying is if you buy these coins, just be very, very careful with them when you touch them. Sometimes people will put them in flips or in coin airtights, et cetera. That may be a way to make sure that they stay pristine, right? Just like you want them. But if they're just sitting in tubes and you're not shaking them or rattling them a whole bunch, they'll probably stay in very, very, very nice shape for you. Yeah, that'll probably come up in a little bit. Yeah, in the next one. So I'm going to show you a different gold coin that's even more popular than the Canadian Maple Leaf coin. In third place is the United States Gold Eagle coin. And people sometimes they get confused when they look at these because overall weight is actually 1.09 and change ounces, and these are 22 karat gold coins. And so people get a little confused, but overall, they have 1 ounce of gold in them, right? And the one interesting thing about the fact that it's 22 karat coin means that you can take them out of the roll and kind of fondle them, no problem. They don't ding or warp as easy as, say, a 3.9 or 4.9 fine gold piece will, right? So 22 karat gold coins, if anyone knows their history about, United States, we used to use these all the time. 22 karat gold pieces were a standard thing, in circulating currency. It's not like people would use them day to day to go buy groceries, but they certainly would use them to buy houses or to buy businesses or to buy land, etc. So they were pieces that our forefathers used all the time. And this modern version, it looks very, very similar to the old double eagles that they used to make in the 30s, 20s, etc. Very similar to the gold that was asked to be turned back in 1933, right? So this new modern version, I think they started in 1986. I'd have to go double check and look, but the amount that they've sold since has dwarfed even the South African Krugerrands. They've beaten them. There's I mean, when you add it all up, as far as how many have been sold, gold eagles versus, say, South African Krugerrands, which have been around since, I believe, 1968, they're probably, I would say gold eagles are probably just beyond, or they may be neck and neck. I'd have to look at the data, but okay. All right. Well, that's good. So gold eagle is, I think, this, you can say it by, year 2019, that they are indeed the most popular gold coin in the world, gold bullion coin in the world, in terms of overall sales volume, how many have been issued, et cetera, et cetera. In the United States, these are IRS 1099-B exempt. You can sell me back millions of these. I don't have to ask you for your social security number. Transaction is private. So that is one of the reasons why people love these as well. We didn't even go through as far as whether or not these are IRA eligible, et cetera, but these are certainly IRA eligible. If someone was going to have their gold retirement fund and they wanted to have gold pieces in it, this would certainly qualify. It's a United States issued coin, guaranteed by the government and backed by the Secret Service. So if there's counterfeits of gold eagles out there, the Secret Service's job is to go find out who's doing it and put them in federal prison. So they're very, I understand why they're very popular, because they're gorgeous coins. Anybody's ever held them, they are very, very pretty. And yeah, of course, the premium's a little bit high. I would say on average, you cannot get them from the U.S. Mint at less than 3% over spot. And so if you're buying them retail, say you're buying them retail at a time when bullion sales are really, really low, and therefore premiums are very, very low. The lowest you'll see them brand new is usually about 3.25, 3.5% over spot. Sometimes you'll see secondary gold eagles being sold at lower than 3%. So sometimes people will come in and buy the older versions just because, gold eagle's a gold eagle. They don't care to have the brand new 2019 version. They'll just take the 2010s or whatever you got. Sure. Yeah, when you go to sell the gold eagles, yeah, I will tell that people. People are asking, when you go to sell the gold eagle, do you get the premium back? Yes, I believe so. I mean, you recoup, I would say, not the entire premium. It's not as if we're buying back the gold eagles at 1.035 over spot. But we typically, right now, let's say gold eagles, let's see, spot is 12.95. If you come to sell it back to us, we're probably going to be bidding around 13.05, 13.10 per piece. Okay, so you could run the numbers on it, but it's comparative. If you went to say buy me, sell me a 1 ounce gold bar, you're probably going to get bid at 12.90, something like that. 12.85 even. So there is a difference in terms of how much you'll get back. And another point to this is, when there is shortages like there were in 2008 in the fall, Gold Eagle was the one that had the highest premium in the market in terms of bullion products. You could see those things selling on eBay when spot gold, for anyone that doesn't know the history about gold price in 2008, it had reached about $1,000 or just over $1,000 spot. Then when the stuff hit the fan and Lehman started collapsing and all that stuff, spot prices fell. People were running to try and get liquidity, so a lot of the futures contracts were being sold off, and so you had the spot price of gold drop down to the mid 700s, I believe. But even at that time, I saw gold eagles being sold at like $900 an ounce on eBay and places like that. Lewis, I'm sorry, you were saying? Yeah. Number two, we're gonna head on to number two. Let's see here. Number two, we got the 1 ounce silver rounds. 1 ounce silver rounds are similar in the sense that the 1 ounce bars, or say the 10 ounce bars, you're getting silver 3.9 fine or more at a price that's a lot closer to spot than, say, the silver coins issued by government mints. Silver rounds are second in the top 10. They run the gambit as far as the different mints that strike them. The image I chose for this was the Sunshine Mint 1 ounce round because I respect it the most, given the fact that it's got that anti-counterfeit technology on it. But there are a myriad of 1 ounce rounds out there as well. Your listeners likely know. I just like Sunshine minting rounds because they're just well recognized, and you could sell them to virtually anyone, and they couldn't balk at it because A, it's well known, B, it's got the anti-counterfeit technology on it, so it just adds a lot more value. Whereas if you had some really, really generic 1 ounce round, a dealer could look at it and say, look, I don't, spot's 15.25, here's 14.50, shut up. I don't want to buy this product. I got to sell it for melt or something like that. So they could use that leverage on you. I prefer to buy things that people know, recognize, and trust, and therefore you don't have someone using leverage to give you a bad price. Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't delve into product per product at SD Bullion, but if I'm just in my experience, 10 years in the industry, just trying to rack my brain, they're probably thinking it through. They're probably, I would go as far as to say they're probably 25% of the entire silver round market if you're talking about overall sales. I mean, they are a very popular round. And the remaining 75%, you're talking about thousands of mints that make these different things, right? But the Sunshine Mint one is ubiquitous. It's a ubiquitous round. It's everywhere, and it's sold, and it's very, very popular. I mean, that's why I used it as the picture because, in my opinion, it's probably the best in terms of value. Yeah. For sure, for sure. 1 ounce. Let's see. There's another round. I'm just trying to look if there's any other rounds that that people love and that are. Yeah, I mean the Sunshine Mint one. When I'm looking at it, obviously Silvertown makes a few. They make really, really. They make rounds at a very, very competitive price. So Silvertowns are. They're another large mint, and if we're asking the question of who's making how much in the industry, Silvertown's probably making 15 to 20% of all the silver rounds out there. So moving on, and I'm sure most of your listeners know what the number one product is. It's very similar to the Smaulgld question that he put out, the poll that he put out. First place is the Silver Eagle coin, and it's by a long shot. In terms of 1 ounce rounds versus the Silver Eagle sales at SD Bullion. It's twice the amount of sales, more than twice the amount of sales are happening for Silver Eagles than even 1 ounce rounds. The Silver Eagle started in 1986. I believe there's been over 500 million of them sold by now, which is a lot of silver. Silver Eagles they're the most expensive general bullion product out there. And there's various reasons as to why. The U.S. Mint, you can't get these brand new from the mint at less than $2 an ounce over spot. And so dealers will turn around and sell at retail. The lowest you'll see it, I think the lowest I've ever seen it is 215 over spot. The highest I've ever seen it, I mean, when 2008, it got ridiculous where, the shortage happened. I saw them being sold pretty heavily at like $5, $6 over spot, $9 silver spot, and they're being sold at $14, $15 wholesale, then being sold to the retail public at another dollar, et cetera. So the Silver Eagle is It is by far and large, I think, the number one silver product, and I don't care what dealer you're talking about, that is the case. I think it was last week or the week before, the U.S. Mint, they've done this since 2008. Constantly, this is like a regular affair where they have temporary halts in terms of their ability to strike and issue these coins. And so they announced that they were temporarily halting the 2019 Silver Eagle coin. And this goes back to an issue that's kind of been building here in the bullion industry of late. For anyone who's been watching the bullion industry in the last 4 years or so, they probably noticed that a lot of private mints have gone under. I think I listed a few in the article I wrote about this subject. There was Northwest Territorial Mint that went down. Last year, Republic Metals went down. Ella Metal went down, I think, 2 years ago, roughly. They were all pretty large mints. And so what ends up happening here is when these mints would go down, it takes the demand that they used to service, and it compresses that demand onto, say, Silvertown or onto Sunshine Mint. And so the other issue here is the Sunshine Mint is one of the lone mints in the United States that produces the silver planchettes that are used by the U.S. Mint to stamp these coins. A silver planchette is basically it looks like a silver coin, but it just doesn't have a stamping on it. That's all it really is. The U.S. Mint's not sitting there in Philadelphia or Denver or what have you, melting down 1,000-ounce bars and doing all the excruciating refining work that's required to make these. What they do is they go out and contract private mints to create the planchettes. They ship the planchettes to the U.S. Mint's locations, and then the U.S. Mint strikes the coins. Okay, so this situation where we're having private mints go under, and Sunshine Mint, for instance, is getting demand from both sides, from the U.S. Mint and from private buyers who want private Sunshine Mint products. It makes it a bottleneck issue essentially, and so. My guess is that Lewis would probably want to know who else supplies planchettes. I know for sure the gold side. I've done the research and figured out some of them on the gold side. On the silver side, I've done a little bit of research. I know it's Sunshine Minting does it. I believe, I'm not sure if they're doing it today, but for a long time, Perth Mint was also doing it. And that caused a whole bunch of controversy in Congress when they had hearings about these issues with the U.S. Mint and their always temporary halting of their Silver Eagle coin program, because of this planchette bottleneck. They were all up in arms because, oh my God, heaven forbid, Australia was providing us silver for the coin. I mean, in the end, it's like people want the coins. Why can't you figure out a way to supply them in an efficient manner? And really, when you get down to nuts and bolts of it, the U.S. Mint does not want to sit there and have inventory on shelves in bulk, in mass inventory, in case outsized demand comes in, they can service it quickly, because it costs them money, right? I mean, they basically have to have capital sitting on shelves in case there's exorbitant demand. They want a situation where it's just-in-time delivery, where when the demand spikes, they can turn to, say, Sunshine Mint, double down on the planchettes. And if Sunshine Mint can do it, then go ahead. But right now, at this moment, it's probably an issue, right? And so that's partly why my hunch is that this temporary halting of the 2019 Silver Eagle coin has come about. I don't expect it to continue, though. I would imagine we're at March 1st right now. I would imagine by mid-March they'll probably be back. That's the hope. We will wait and see. But I think the main point about it is, the Silver Eagle coin is the number one product in the world. But when outside demand comes in, they can't service it. It's just the flat-out truth. And I don't think if we, in the 2020s, if we have outsized demand, you're going to see another situation like you saw in 2008, where the U.S. Mint can't service it. And who's going to be able to service it? The people who bought Silver Eagles from 2008 or before that up to now. Those people are going to be able to go out and sell some of these coins to either dealers or sell them directly to people if they'd like at very high premiums. Because in 2008, for instance, we had silver spot around $9, and these coins were selling at $17 regularly on eBay. And for anyone who doesn't believe me, just go to the Wayback Machine and look at various websites, fall of 2008, and you will see premiums that go look at Tolving's website, and you will see premiums on these coins at exorbitant exorbitant prices. And think about it. You have a $9 spot and they're selling them at like 80% over spot. It was ridiculous. So I don't know what that's, in the future, imagine it. In the future, you could have a situation where it's $20 spot and you see these coins being sold at $35 over spot. So that's one of the reasons why people love them. Again, these are U.S. mint coins. These are IRS 1099-B exempt. You could sell us back millions of these, and I don't have to ask you for your social security number. They are also, you can use them in IRAs. So if you wanted to have silver in your IRA, for instance, these totally qualify, no problem. What else? The green monster boxes that they come in are very large and I would say the size of them, they look like a man's shoebox, essentially. They're very, very bulky and big. When you go and look at the video has that what people they call them monster boxes. A U.S. Mint case is this green box that carries, I believe, 25 tubes of 20 of these in each, so 500 ounces of these in each case. So yeah, that's the number one product, and for very good reason. It's a trustworthy coin. If you were to go sell it to any dealer, they're going to want those coins because those coins go off the shelf quick. Sure. All right. So yeah, no problem. So we're going to close out the show. Sorry that you guys couldn't hear Smaulgld at the end there. He was having fun with me. We're going to close it out. If you guys have interests in SD Bullion, you come to the website. Under the resources tab, there's that investing guide. If you have any interest in learning more details about, bullion investing and some of the ins and outs, some of the details to how you can be intelligent about the way you go about buying, and when you go to buy from a dealer, how you can figure out whether or not the dealer is legit. I have some information in there that could help people when they're doing some of their research. As well, there's obviously Smaulgld. You can get your Smaulgld mugs. I recently bought a Smaulgld mug. I carry it around the office, sipping coffee or mate out of it. Occasionally, I worry though, Lewis. I think about it, because I wonder. Smaulgld mugs are key to stacking, and if you're going to get really wealthy, you got to have Smaulgld mugs. But my worry is if I ever drop the Smaulgld mug, what refiner can I take my broken bits back to melt it down and get some recouping of my Smaulgld capital? I'm wondering. Oh, that's true. Okay. He's right. He's right. Okay. So there is true price discovery in Smaulgld mugs. There is no derivative complex, like say, for instance, the COMEX with silver and the COMEX with gold, or the NYMEX with platinum, NYMEX with palladium. These Smaulglds are true price discovered on smaulgld.com. And I'm thinking about getting a Stein. I wonder if any of the listeners out there have gotten a Smaulgld beer Stein, because I'm thinking to diversify out of not just mug, but also Stein, because I've heard that there's true price discovery there as well at smaulgld.com. Okay. The mug shot. All right. Well, listeners out there, if there are any questions that you see there, Lewis, that we didn't maybe cover that we could drop real fast before we jump off? Right, exactly. So when it comes to any bullion products, the questions about tax. Okay, so if you're with anything in the United States, when you're talking about collectibles or with bullion, you buy something at a price and then you go to sell it at another price. If you had a loss, you could probably declare a certain portion of that as a capital loss and take a little bit from your taxes and recoup some of it from your taxes. For instance, I believe $3,000 per year is the most of capital losses you can take. And then now the other side, if you sell it for a profit, obviously I've told you that some of these products are private, but that doesn't mean that if you made a profit in your sale that the IRS thinks it's all good. You don't have to give us our cut. That's not true. You need to actually pay your capital gains share. A lot of people run around and talk about, Silver Eagles, Gold Eagles, or any of these bullion products. If you have a capital gain, it's 28% tax. That's not true. That's the most it could be, but it depends on the person and it depends on their tax situation. It could be much lower. So it's not necessarily 28%. That could be it at the maximum rate, but sometimes, depending on the individual, it could be as low as 15, 20%, et cetera. Now, again, I'm not a tax advisor, so don't take it to the bank. Do your work. When you sell and have a gain, contact your tax pro. But I'm just giving you the basics and ins and outs that I've seen from my experience. If you have a capital gain, yes, of course, the IRS is going to want a portion of that cut in their fiat that they love so much. So I think that's it. Oh, one other thing too, there's coming up, there are state sales taxes in certain states. I just wanted to give a heads up to some people. I believe at SD Bullion within a month or two, likely we're going to have certain states. There was a U.S. Supreme Court filing that happened this past summer where online dealers or online sales of any type of goods or products in the United States can no longer do so without charging some state sales tax. So, it's a lot of work to try and program that. And, each state is different. I believe almost 35 states in the United States now are completely exempt. So most people out there aren't going to have this issue, but there are a few states, depending on what you're buying from an online dealer, that they will have to start charging some state tax on this. So if you see that happening at SD Bullion in the next few months, that's likely why. If you're in a state that, for instance, if you're in the state of New York, I don't care if you're buying at a local coin shop or online, the dealer is probably going to have to start charging you state sales tax. And if they don't, they're running the risk of being shut down at some point because states will probably start going after dealers that don't do that. Yeah, exactly. And you got to remember too on the end of the bullion dealer. Imagine if you're not charging the state sales tax, and then say the state comes at you and says, how many sales did you have in our state this past year? And you say, well, we had $4 million of state sales in your state. Okay, well, you owe us 7% of that. Well, imagine if you didn't collect it from the customer. Well, where are you, bullion dealer? That sounds like you're probably going to maybe go out of business. So yeah, you got to be very, very careful. You have to follow the rules and know what the rules are. And the problem with this one is that the rules are so difficult. On our end, we have to go to each state and figure out each product, whether or not it's exempt or not. It's been a long, difficult road to do. And imagine having to program that into your website. It's a lot of work. So, okay, I think we've covered them all. Unless, Lewis, are there any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, Lewis is just telling me to remind everybody to keep stacking Smaulgld mugs and silver, of course. All right, guys, so thanks for listening to us, and have a great Saturday silver night. And I look forward to hopefully coming back sometime soon.